What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Bland back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing this awesome Saturday evening, man? It has been an amazing week, man. Shout out to everybody in chat right now watching live. Shout out to everybody watching on the replay later on. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. The support, engagement has been amazing, man. You guys love 298. We had a ball last week. We're here back again doing it another week. So once again, if you're new here, make sure you share that link. Make sure you come back and see us. So subscribe, hit the like button, all of that good stuff, man. We love all of the engagement here. You guys have been freaking awesome. But we got an amazing guest. I don't want to talk too long, man. This guy hasn't been on the show for a little while, but once again, another extended family member, man. Shout out to you, man, Ains. Let everybody know where they can find you if they don't know already, brother. How you been?
Yeah, man, doing well, guys, doing well. Thank you for that intro, man. I know I talked about it last time I was here, and it has been a while, and that's for no reason other than the fact that for a long time I stopped kind of guesting, just got overwhelmed. You know, there's only so much time in the day. But no, thank you for the invite back, and I always shout out to you, PTK, because I always remember, and I don't forget things like this, that when SG was first creating and I first started podcasting and first started to build any sort of audience, you were one of the first people to reach out to me and have me on and let me kind of promote myself and, you know, gave me some nice compliments on the work we were doing. And I always remember that, man. So I don't take it for granted. And I thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Kind words, man. Thank you so much, man. Like you said, you've always been a big part of this show here. You've always been, like I said, one of the people early on who just followed us, and I appreciate you, man. Once again, guys, if you don't know, this is super high quality stuff. SG Gaming, seasongaming.com. Go check out the website. All of that information is down in the link below. Once again, I don't keep up with a lot of podcasts. One of the few that I do keep up with. Please go show your love and support. Nothing but quality, nothing but integrity over there, Season Gaming. Shout out to everybody and what you built over there, Ains. You amazing person, bro. Glad to have you here, man. Appreciate you coming back to us. So let me go ahead and throw this over. Awesome, man. Let me go ahead and throw this over to my two right-hand, man. Another week in the books, man. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to throw this over to you, Pong. How you been? What you playing? All of that good stuff, brother.
Yeah. What a night to be back at it. Back in the saddle again. And of course, we've got just an amazing person here in Porsche Power. Ains, it's been way too long, brother, that since we've had a chance to talk.
Yeah, it has, man.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time. But you know how much I love what you guys do over at Season Gaming, what you got going over there ever since you kind of reinvented yourself again. Of course, the website continues to be amazing for reviews, just absolutely fantastic thoughts over there. And you and Dan and Ty Guy, and of course, the one and only Hogue, just doing awesome
Shout out to Hogue
on the podcast. Yeah, shout out to Hogue. What an addition over there at Season Gaming, but just in general, all of you are just great human beings. So a pleasure to have you here, sir. This week has been interesting. Been still rocking out in Ghostwire Tokyo, just having just a ridiculously good time with this game. I knew I was going to like it. It was right up my alley. I didn't know how much I was going to enjoy it. So just continuing to rock out on that. Played some Minecraft Legends, obviously
nice.
Mojang and the RTS Lite version of Minecraft, which is a really cool way to branch out. Of course, they did Dungeons, which is kind of your top-down, Diablo-esque style action RPG. Now they branch off into an RTS, and me and Mav and Jasper and Psychonauts, we all hopped into it opening night. They've got some quality of life stuff that they can improve upon. They've got a few things here and there. They've already talked about some patches coming. But overall, as a non-Minecraft dude, as a guy who care less about Minecraft, really fun. Really well done controls. I know some people have complained about them, but like I said on the last show, I thought that was just kind of the norm for people when they jump into a strategy or tactics or RTS game with a controller. It takes a while to get used to, and that's all it was here as well. But really having a great time with Minecraft Legends. Played a little bit of the campaign by myself as well, and it's got a great little story to it. So that's been pretty much for the week. Real quick, PTK, I do want to shout out. Listen, we've had a weird couple weeks here in the community, to say the least, right? A whole lot of nonsense going on,
man.
A whole lot of craziness going on. I got to shout out Wandering Dutch and
Man,
the
look.
Community Indie Showcase.
I was
Yeah,
already
yeah.
finna do that, but go ahead, man. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
Humbled to be a part of it again. His third annual CIS, and he's planning on doing a second one in September.
Awesome, man.
But listen, this man put over 100 hours into this 2.5 hour show. Got Aaron Greenberg to do an introduction of some games. This is what this community is all about. We've got, all of, you two here, PTK and Fuzzy, of course, two of my favorite people, brothers from another. Again, just great examples of this community. We got a guest here who obviously is the same, and what he does over at Season Gaming and the whole crew over at Season Gaming do is the best of the community. And Wandering Dutch is another member of that class. And when he does the CIS, this Community Indie Showcase, invites community members to come in, do little introductions, give them lists of games, and he goes out there and does this high value production quality.
Man.
Yes, showing off why we're all passionate about this industry, which is the start of it all. The indie games, the little guys out here, not always about the AAA. Of course, we all love the AAA, first party games and all that kind of stuff, but just showing off the little people that in general, the indie games now, some of them you can't even tell are indie games anymore, right? Because the quality is getting so good, but they are still doing things in the indie community, pushing this industry forward, trying and risking new things. And that's what the spotlight should be about sometimes. And Dutch does it better than most out there, probably better than everyone out there, in my opinion. Of course, it's biased because I love Dutch. But again, 2.5 hours of just almost all straight gameplay, straight videos, everything we want. And man, what a great thing to be a part of. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Community Indie Showcase 2023, please, when you have some time, go check it out. You're going to see some games that, of course, you know about, but you're going to see a whole lot that you probably had no idea or forgot were coming. And this is the golden age of gaming, folks. And that little showcase today, a big showcase today, I shouldn't call it little, it is big, definitely shows why I keep saying that. We've got a lot to look forward just from the indie scene alone. So go check that out. But I just want to give Dutch and Midweek Mix-Up Collective a shout out over there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely the right thing to do. And I'm glad you took the lead on that because I was going that direction anyway. So shout out to you for your awareness. But shout out to Dutch. He's in chat too. So shout out to you, Dutch. Once again, Pong already said it, man. It was a super high quality show. One of the best shows I've seen, irregardless of, size of, company backing the show. So that's the best part of the community. Go check that out. You're going to see a bunch of things that you probably didn't see. A lot of that stuff I had never even seen as well, Pong. So I got a lot of that at that event as well, too. But shout out to you, Pong, for being here, man, and the community for showing up and showing love, man. But let's throw it over to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. How you doing this week, Brad? What's going on with you?
Fuzzy, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted, Fuzz.
Sorry about that. I'm doing great. Awesome to be here with you guys. Always awesome to have Ains on here. Welcome back. And
Thanks, sir.
On that showcase, definitely a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. But man, oh man, like Pong was saying, it's been a pretty wild week as far as Twitter's concerned. But for the most part, I'm trying to keep out of a lot of the back and forth on there. But been playing a lot of Undisputed. They did a recent patch. They still haven't reduced the arm fatigue on jabs, but still having fun with it with the a handful of boxers that they added with this recent update. And then one of my old favorites finally decided to fix some of the stuff that I've been complaining about for like 2 months, where they killed a couple of my builds and broke a few other things in the game. So they did a patch earlier in the week, and then they did the I guess you could say like the year 5 roadmap, as well as some updates on Heartland and Resurgance and stuff. And back into the division, been playing that for a little bit, but man, I can't wait until we get Diablo here soon. And I already got, was it a pre-order for Star Wars? So looking forward to that as well. But man, oh man, it's, we were talking about how this is going to be the year of the backlog. I've been seeing the year of the backlog. Yeah, it's already starting to build up now. But man, some great topics to get into. Let's do this.
Man, let's get into it. But let me go ahead and give a few quick shout outs here in chat, man. You guys are amazing, showing out every single week. What's up, Cypher? I saw Zinc. I saw Luke jump in here. What's up, Jasper? Everybody coming through. I saw Ashtray, Blue, everybody, man. Appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us once again. Hit that like button. We got a lot to talk about, so we are diving in. And yes, we are starting with the poll of the week this week. So if you're new here, this is something that we do pretty regularly at the Shop Podcast. Put the poll up every single Monday. So go follow me on Twitter if you want to be a part of that. So shout out to the almost 700 people who took part in that poll. It was another fun one this week. So if once again you want to do that, go ahead and follow me. All of that's down below. But we're going to start with the poll of the week. And poll of the week this was a fun one. This is actually dedicated to you, Pong, actually. So I think I even told you after I did it. I want to make sure I do these as tribute every so often, Ains. So I got to keep him from taking over the show by doing that.
Correct.
Yeah. So just so we understand,
He's aware the coup is around the corner at any given moment. So.
Mutiny is among us. So I have to do this just like a tribute every so often. So I had to throw him a bone. So this week, I guess, was my week to do that. So it said, what game will people be more likely still playing in 2025? And I got two choices. We got Starfield and Diablo 4. So as Pong would say, there's really no actual wrong answers here.
No,
there is a right answer, but there's no wrong answers. If that makes any sense, Ain. So we're gonna start with you in chat. Once again, let us know which one you guys will be playing more in 2025. It may not be either of the two. Let us know down in chat as well. But we start with you. We're throwing you right in the fire pit, Ain. What do you start with? Which one do you think you're gonna be playing in 2025?
You didn't have to finish the sentence, man. It's Diablo 4. It's not even a competition.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not even a competition. I am a diehard Diablo fan. And I think that I own, like, we counted it up earlier today. I was talking to some people. I swear to God, I own like 8 copies of Diablo 3. Like over the generations that it's come out.
Yeah.
And Diablo is just one of those franchises where it's funny because I was talking, I think, to the Xbox Cord That podcast. They asked me a question, which is going to sell more, Starfield or Diablo? And I said Diablo, and they were all blown away. And I said, not to take anything away from Starfield, that game's going to be generational. We know what Bethesda can do. I'm sure you guys have talked at length about Starfield. It's going to be a bomb, and I'm excited for it. But Diablo is definitely more in my wheelhouse personally. But Diablo games, I mean, Diablo 2 is 20 years old, and it's still played regularly. It's just those games they have an audience that is not only massive globally, but that just dedicate themselves to those games for years and years and thousands of hours. And not that the Bethesda games don't, but for me, it's Diablo all day.
Okay, so a lot of this, and Pong, you mentioned this, and I'm gonna let Pong go next because I feel like he's busting at the seams. I can feel it coming through the mic. He's seething over there after what you just said. By the way, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. But no, for real. So the one thing that I always forget about Diablo Ains is that because it's almost like, because of where Blizzard and Activision have been as a company, people forget how important Diablo actually is, how large it actually is. Like at Diablo's peak, like it was almost second to nothing. You know what I mean? Regarding to just like fandom and the amount of people who played it. And because of this long period where Blizzard hasn't been in the best position, just from a fan standpoint, I think it kind of, a lot of the luster is worn off of Diablo, unfortunately. But I think this is that they're back. They're fully back. And I'm a new Diablo player, Ain. So where would you, kind of where you at with that as far as, do you think that, that's why people aren't as, I don't know. I mean, we are a little bit older, but I feel like a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it has been around a very long time, right? Since the late 90s. And in 30 years, they released 3 games. That's how long it takes for them to make new Diablo games. But just for some perspective, right? For people who may not know how big Diablo is, like Diablo 3, which is considered among some of the hardcore Diablo audiences a letdown compared to 2. Last check in 2017, so 6 years ago, it had sold over 30 million copies. And it's continued to sell, over the past 6 years. So there's no updated figure, but it's definitely in the, 30, 40, 50 million range. And Diablo 4, as we've seen, let's keep in mind, Diablo 3 launched PC only. It didn't come to consoles until a year and a half later. This is launching on all platforms. day and date together. Consoles, they'll continue to expand it, right? They have usually a path where like a year and a half, 2 years later, they release an expansion, a new character class. And this is their first attempt at live service Diablo, where it's going to have continual updates in real time. This game's going to be an atom bomb, man. I'm telling you, this game is going to blow the industry away in terms of sales and figures.
I agree. And it's crazy because the year we've already had, and you still got things like Zelda hasn't come out, and we talking about blowing people away. Starfield hasn't come out. Like they're one of these games might end up being a footnote, Ains, and that's crazy to say, right? Like one of these games is not going to get the recognition that it absolutely deserves and would absolutely definitely win Game of the Year in almost any other year. That's how crazy 23 is going to be.
Yeah, I was talking with some guys around, like we were trying to predict the Game Awards Game of the Year this year, right? So pick 6 titles that could be up for Game of the Year. And I picked 6 and I was like, yeah, it's got to be the 6. And then we named like 5, 6, 7 more. And I'm like, holy crap, you're right. Like you got Starfield, you got the obvious ones, right? Starfield, Diablo, of course, I'm going to go blank now. Tears of the Kingdom.
Zelda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've got Spider-Man 2 coming later this year. You've got Hogwarts Legacy that blew the doors off at the beginning of the year. You've got Star Wars. You've got Street Fighter 6. You've just got all of these games, and that's before getting into some other potential ones like Hollow Knight Silk Song is going to be a huge indie game. There's so many games this year. It's just Pong said it earlier, in terms of like golden age or renaissance, where we joke, you guys joked, and I did earlier with Miles too, joked about kind of the negativity across kind of the spectrum over the past few weeks. And it's like, how can you be negative right now? We're living in like the games we're getting this year are absolutely incredible, and the breadth of them and the the variances, the differences in them, and kind of hitting all genres are firing on all fronts. And it's just an incredible time for gaming.
Oh, absolutely. 100% agree. 100% agree. And that's a great segue to Pong as well, too, because that is your saying, Pong. Once again, been trying to get this copyright together, man. That golden age of gaming, that's $1 million copyright, man. We need to get that locked down for real.
We do.
He's absolutely right. But as far as the poll goes, I don't know if you want to answer his question first and get into your poll answer. It's kind of up to you.
No, I just, as far as... Listen, there was no wrong answer here. I said I hit you up in the DMs right away, and I said, that's it's an unfair poll question because there is no wrong answer there.
No, the answer is really both, right?
Yeah, right. They're both going to be being played. Correct, absolutely. And to Ains's point, like you already know, I agree with Ains as far as the sales go because I came on this show a few weeks ago and said that Diablo 4 would be the biggest seller of the year. Right, that's my prediction, is it's going to outsell every other game this year for all the reasons that Ains just went through, which again, as a huge Diablo fan that he is, he obviously understands the history behind it. And this industry is so different from where it was when Diablo started and even where Diablo 3 came out to consoles. This industry has grown astronomically since that point. There's a lot of people out there who may have only dabbled in Diablo or not played it at all at this point, but now they're hearing about Diablo 4 because the wizards over at Blizzard have gotten it back together again, have gone back to the drawing board, have listened to the criticism they got from 3, have learned from everything that they did to change 3, because 3 is nowhere near the same game it was when it first came out to when it is today. And then also, like I've always said, they've looked at some of the other games that have come along in this genre that Diablo set the bar for decades ago and have and expanded it, like Path of Exile, right? You can see that in the Paragon skill system.
Yep.
You can see that in the overall, the way that they're starting to do their weapons now and their equipment and the different levels and the legendary powers attached to them. They took a lot of feedback and said, you know what, we already know how to do this, but we are going to tweak the formula. Even though we're considered the best in the biz, we're going to tweak this formula and make it even better. And oh, by the way, we're going to go back to that Diablo 2 atmosphere and turn it up about 10 notches and really get dark, the darkness that people wanted. And we're going to create this fantastic story behind it. So no, Diablo 4 for sure is going to be the biggest seller. 2025, people are still going to be playing Diablo 4. This is going to be one of those games that's permanently downloaded in most people's hard drives once they get it. It's something that you're always going to go back to and play again. They're going to have continuous seasons just like they've started.
It's probably going to replace the Division for me.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Correct.
Yeah, unless the Division, we'll see where that ends up, but it's probably going to take up that time that I would normally put into Division.
Absolutely. But of course, I answered this question as Starfield. Of course, I answered this whole question with Starfield because, of course, again, there is no wrong answer here. Both are still going to be played. Starfield is going to be genre
Pong
defining.
agreed, by the way, Pong. It was heavy
Right.
Starfield, 71%.
Heavy Starfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's genre defining. It's going to set the bar again. It's a generational type game. Of course, as I always say, anything can happen. Todd could really screw things up. Him and the A team could really screw things up, and Starfield could come out and flop. But I have no doubt that that's not what's going to happen here. They're going to set the bar yet again. The modding community that has done wonders with Fallouts, with your Elder Scrolls, and kept these games alive for decades. People are playing some crazy modded version of Morrowind right now that looks ridiculously good for a game that old, and it shouldn't be that good. And yet here it is in 2023. People are playing Morrowind. People are still playing Daggerfall after all these years, for God's sakes. This modding community now is going to have 1,000 planets. This is an open palette. We already talked about all the potential for the mods, especially on the PC side of things. And I'm hoping to see more integration on the console side because both Phil and Todd have talked about that. But this game is going to live on forever. This Starfield is going to be around. They're going to come out with Starfield MMO at some point. Listen, Starfield in 2025 is still going to be fresh. It's still going to be introducing new players to it. There's still going to be people that are experiencing something for the very first time on their 10th playthrough of that game. There's going to be people with 5,000 hours in this game. Like, again, Starfield is going to be gigantic, as well as Diablo. Diablo 4 is going to be unbelievably huge. Like I said, when we talked about the ABK deal, Xbox, Microsoft, they got to be laughing the whole way when all this Call of Duty nonsense started about this ABK deal, because they're sitting on a treasure trove of diamonds.
It was a Trojan horse, man. That's what it was. Call of Duty
Everybody's
was a
just
horse.
looking at the one shiny diamond, and they're over here just laughing. And Diablo 4 could wind up being the biggest one of all at the end of all of this as a games as a service, because they support their titles. All you got to do is look at Diablo 3 that didn't hit well, aims through those sales numbers at you.
30
that was
mil
for a
as of
game.
what, 2017?
Yep, that was that was for a game that did not hit well with the overall Diablo community, but they continued to work on it. Again, it plays completely different now. Diablo 4, unlimited potential when it comes to what it's going to push, where it's going to push those numbers. So, this is going to be a fun year, guys, for sure.
Funny enough, I think that. Sorry, PTK. I was going to say, I think of all the games in this year that we talked about, right? Like the games that are going to blow us all away, and there's tons of them this year. But if you think about that, the spectrum we just said, the games that will be played out of that whole list, the games that will be played for years and years and years to come, continually with new content. Correct. Those are the two. Yep. Diablo and Starfield.
Yep. I would agree. Those probably, you're probably right with they have the best shot. And like you said, Diablo, it has a history of being this way. Although, like you said, 3 wasn't even as popular as the first 2, but it still was 30, 40 million at this point, maybe even, maybe even many more players than that. So we'll see where Diablo 4 is at. One thing I do agree is that I do think it will be the bigger seller as far as like it's going to sell the most copies. By default, I mean, it's multi-plat, there's some things that are in its favor regarding the sales.
It won't start on Game Pass. So.
Of course.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So there's that too as well. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. See where you're at on this. And once again, I'm new to the Diablo stuff. I just got in Diablo maybe like 8-9 months ago. So I'm already super attached to Diablo at this point in time. Like I know what it is and I know what I feel like when I play it. And I that's probably accustomed to Pong and Ains when you guys first picked up Diablo as well. That's how I already feel about the game. So where are you at on this, Fuzz? Starfield, Diablo?
Well, both of them definitely going to be played all the way up through 2025. If you were to say 2035, maybe Starfield will be the one that is still being played, because I'm pretty sure there'll be another Diablo at that point. That 4 will probably drop off a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, both of these are still going to be, played for the next 4 or 5 plus years at a minimum, I would say. And, maybe, mods and things like that will help with Starfield above and beyond that until they figure out how to do like a MMO of Starfield or something like that. But I voted Starfield only because out of those two, I'm probably going to be playing more of Starfield after the 1 year mark, but that could very well change, considering the Division kind of got their act together as far as some of the things that have been broken over the past few months. Diablo is definitely going to get a long playthrough, but I don't know if it's going to have as much staying power in the grand scheme of things, for at least for me. But these are both going to be juggernauts when it comes to the amount of playable hours that people sink into both of these games and stuff. But yeah, I voted Starfield just from my standpoint, but it's hard to argue that Diablo is going to be probably one of the biggest selling games for the next few years here, and it's going to be played well into 2030 time frame, or at least until there's a Diablo 5 type of deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's good. The game's going to be huge. I wholeheartedly agree. And playing through the beta, and shout out to us getting another one, and I'm sure we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. But I'm pumped, man. I am juiced for Diablo 4. So thank you for that warm up topic, man. Once again, poll of the week. If you guys want to take part in that, follow me on Twitter. All of that information is in the description, man. Shout out to chat, Sour Blow, Silent Cipher. I saw the super chat, the $2 super chat. Let me back up here, Cipher. I don't want to go too far here. Let me back up just a little bit. Here we go. Shout out to the $2 super chat. Silent Cyber said, and those are just the games we know of. So that's what we were talking about earlier. That 23 is stacked. It's even more stacked when you really pull everything back and take a look at it. But let's get into the first meat topic of the show. Just the best topics, the chunky part of the show, man. So we're gonna get into I'm gonna start a little bit different here, because I know the community's been going one direction. No pun intended at all. No pun intended. But I know the community, there's been a lot of energy surrounding the community. So I want to start a little different. I want to talk a little bit about Netflix gaming and their foray into gaming, so to speak, especially kind of piggybacking off the Joe Staten news that he's now going to be over there, Ains. So I want to kind of start with you. Obviously, you being a massive Halo fan, massive. So you're, Joe is a huge part of that. He's everything to that franchise. So obviously he's taking his talents over to Netflix. So what do you think about that, for one, him going over there working on a brand new IP? I believe the IP is connected to a possible TV show of some sort or series of some sort as well. As well as just Netflix and them getting into them taking gaming more serious.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, anyone who knows me or even follows me for a day knows how much I love Halo and are in that community. So Joe is, he's one of the foundational members of the history of Halo. Started at Bungie a very long time ago, was over there, obviously came over to 343 came back to Microsoft, I think in 2014. Obviously helped ship Halo Infinite. He wrote a Halo book. Most people don't know he actually wrote one of the best-selling Halo books. So he's just a really great guy with a ton of talent across the board. So I won't stay on Halo, but yeah, I think him going over to Netflix, I think the Netflix thing is really interesting. And we've been talking for years now about the big guys, right? The Googles, the Amazons getting into the gaming space. And we're not going to cover Stadia tonight, but I think, Amazon is still kind of just doing their own thing with Luna. They're not really advertising it all too much or going too crazy with it. They have their own game studio set up, and I think Netflix is kind of seeing the possibilities there. They've dabbled a little bit. What did we just see? Oxenfree 2. That's going to be on Netflix as well. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's smart for them in the sense of if they can find a way to invest intelligently into the gaming space, and as you just said, combine that from a media perspective with some sort of companion show, they can offer something unique that other companies can't match. Amazon could, they haven't to date. But if you think about Netflix, I forget the latest figures, but what are they? They're over 100 million subscribers, something 120, 130.
They've lost quite a few, though, as of recently, right?
Yeah, they were going down, and then I think they had last month or quarter, they had an uptick. I don't know, but I know it's over 100 million. Yeah. But if you just think about that, right? Like, we talk all the time about Game Pass and the 25, 30 million, wherever they're at exactly, subs. But if you think about 100 plus million people globally now, big global audience on Netflix, and what they do, the kind of opportunity to create an interactive kind of gaming experience and to dive a little deeper with a AAA IP, because according to Staten, this is a AAA IP. And it's multi-platform, he said specifically too in his post, which is even more interesting. So what I'm kind of envisioning is that they want to get into more serious AAA game development, which comes with endless challenges, as we all know.
Yes.
But if they do that correctly, right, and you have a multi-platform game that hits even on a smaller level that you can promote and then kind of build upon the universe with a Netflix series where you already have that captive audience, there's definitely potential there, right? I think the potential is huge. Now, delivery, whole nother matter. And whether you have Staten or talent or whatever else it is, I guess the big question for me, because the problems we saw at Google, the problems we've seen at Amazon, the problems we've seen in countless other publishers and studios over the decades, is the gaming idea, getting into the gaming space and the growing revenue globally of the gaming industries is a great idea on paper. Delivering it is a whole different matter.
It's so hard to do.
And if they get, 2 years down the road and they've invested, I'm throwing numbers out here, but if they've invested tens of millions of dollars and they start to hear from the directors like Joe and others that, hey, we need 2 more years, how willing is Netflix going to be to continue through that journey and to take the loss up front to really create something special? That's the question that I think I'm waiting to see answered. And I think it's going to be a few years before we get those answers. But I think from a pure potential standpoint, I think it's strong. And I would love to see more kind of collaboration and crossovers between the gaming industry and entertainment. Where we are seeing that, right? We see like Edge Runners for Cyberpunk, right? With anime series and Dragon Age. And then obviously Last of Us just hit. We've got shows, Halo, Arcane, we've got Fallout coming. There's a lot of stuff kind of coming. But I think if you do that in parallel, right, you have a game series that is the lore is expanded upon within a Netflix series simultaneously or in parallel, I think there's even bigger potential there.
Yeah. And like you said, that's a unique product that you can offer that the others can offer. I mean, Sony can do it, they can do it on that scale as well too, but we have yet to see them do that. And like you said, that's the one thing people don't understand. You can have all the money in the world. That's why there's only really the big 3 that's been able to do it on a consistent basis. I'm sure there's other companies over time that have looked at the video game console market and said, you know what, that'd be fun to do, but that's really, really difficult. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like you said,
it's risky.
It's super risky, and are they going to be committed? Because it is truly a roller coaster, and you're committing to a game that once again may take 3 to 5 years, and you don't know what the return on your investment is going to be at all. It could flop, and you can lose everything that you put into it. And that's a reality when it comes to video games. I mean, maybe there's a better market to read on like a movie or a TV show. Video games is tough, especially if it's like a brand new IP, like he was saying, Joseph Staten was saying it's going to be a new IP as well. You just don't know. There's too many question marks, right?
Well, let's think about, like, not to keep going here, but Netflix, as we all know, right, has gotten kind of a reputation for canceling shows. I know even me and my wife, we watch a lot of shows that were just canceled, right? You get invested in them and then canceled. And of course, that's a bottom line decision. Someone's looking at the numbers and saying, hey, took us 80 million to build, this show, and we don't have the return on it. That is the video game industry. So how willing are you? It's more volatile, I would say, than what they're doing already. And we know that they have a kind of a reputation or history of kind of bailing when the numbers don't match. So I don't know. I'm nervous and excited at the same time.
Yeah, no, I understand, man, for sure. So there's a lot of shakiness here, but I'm glad to see the media expanded. We talked about transmedia, and a lot of these companies, Sony's done it, Nintendo's done it. We got the Super Mario movie, all these different people, and another thing too, you got to consider, Ains, is now there's actually been some legitimate success in the space with things like the Last of Us TV show. That's like the first time a video game based movie is really, or a TV show is really taken off to that level. So we're finally starting to see some success on the other side of the fence. So I do think there's more of companies are more willing to take the risk because they do see that it can pay off if done properly, right? So we do have to take that into consideration as well. But let me throw this over to you, Pong. Get you going here, man. Netflix, man. Once again, 2 questions. Joe Staten, he's obviously over there now. He was at Halo, big part of Halo, but he's now with Netflix. And then obviously their their continued push into the video game industry. You know, we've always talked about Google and Amazon, but Netflix has kind of been sneaky there.
Yeah, we talked about this when we first heard about Netflix. The interesting part is most people dismissed it because they started out with these cute, kind of seemingly mobile-like, little indie games, and that was all fine. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's nice, Netflix. Yeah, you guys do that. That's kind of cute, whatever else." But we kind of talked about when we first heard about this that again, these shadows are lurking out there. There's not too many companies that can come in and pour a ton of money into the video game industry, but the ones that are sitting out there do have a lot of room to maneuver, and Netflix being one of them. And obviously, the interesting part now is that Joseph has come out and said this is going to be a AAA project and it's going to be multi-plat. And to kind of bring it back to something that Ains brought up, which was Oxenfree 2, the interesting part about that, Ains, I don't know if you saw all the hubbub around Oxenfree 2.
Yeah.
They announced it for everything. Right,
but
except Xbox,
yeah.
including. I don't know if you saw this, but this was later on in the Twitter feed as people were kind of asking them questions. They're putting it on Mac.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so just a little thing to keep in the back of a little thought to keep in the back of your mind. Does Netflix see Xbox as a competitor in the subscription streaming space?
Yeah.
Is that the first sign that Netflix is thinking of Xbox that way? And maybe this is a sign of things to come down the road from Netflix if they do get their gaming division up and running with AAAs and bigger titles. So when Joseph comes out and says this is multi-plat, the minute I saw the Oxenfree 2 stuff, I was like, oh, okay, well, so everywhere, but maybe not Xbox, maybe not that. And wouldn't that be interesting if Joseph makes a AAA game and all of a sudden it's not available over here on this side, on the green side? So interesting little tidbit there to think about. But overall, again, more competition in the space, more games coming out is usually a good thing. Now, I absolutely 100% agree with Ains and UPTK and your thoughts on, kind of holding back a little bit and watching and observing what Netflix is going to do here, because like Ains pointed out, as many companies, including some one of the biggest ones in the world in Google or Alphabet, found out, it's not easy. Okay, you can't dip your toes in and think that you're going to find success, right? It's not easy to come into this space, even though this space is growing. You really have to put effort and work into it. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for especially the upper management to have a little bit of fear as soon as things go sideways during development, or all of a sudden development costs kind of go exponential on you. And you're, all of a sudden you're looking at a bigger bill than you thought you were, whether that's time or money, right? So it's not for that type of management style. You've got to be ready to take the lumps to enter
committed,
this industry, right?
You got to
do.
be committed.
And there's going to be failures, right?
Yeah.
And how you handle those failures shows a lot. And again, we saw it with Google and Alphabet. They pulled out real quick, right? They said, whoa, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. We're not here for this, boys and girls. This is not what we decided on. So yeah, we got to kind of take a step back and kind of just wait and see how Netflix is going to do this. But I'm excited to see what they come up with, because they do have the money. And then the transmedia, that's something we started talking about here very early on. My guy Lars over at Embracer Group, right? One of the first interviews where I saw somebody in this industry really bring up transmedia was an interview with him. And obviously we've seen what Embracer Group's been doing, collecting IP like a squirrel. So, Netflix again has been on the other side of that, right? They've had they've had the Witcher series and all that kind of stuff. So they've seen the success of transmedia. So now they're just going to hop in and all of a sudden have maybe some of their own new IP available for that, which can be extremely lucrative. Like Ains was talking about, we've seen some big successes, and PTK, you brought up The Last of Us. Even Sega, with Sonic movies, doing fantastic. Prior to the new Sonic game coming out. And we just saw Sega pick up Rovio too, in their Angry Birds developer, right? But in that press release, they talked about transmedia in there as well, and opportunities for that. But you got a built in-house studio, much like you do it with Sony and Amazon, where you can turn something new that maybe Joseph is creating some great new IP and turn around right away and get that into a video format, or do it simultaneously if the story and the lore is built out enough where you go, no, we got a winner here. Let's get going on this. Hey, it doesn't take much for Netflix to be able to turn around and snap a couple fingers, and all of a sudden you got a production team working, right? So this is an interesting concept for Netflix to jump into this way with AAA. I think it's great for Joseph. Like I said, when we talked about Joseph, when we first heard that he was leaving, again, with a guy like this, sure, I from Microsoft's Xbox standpoint, you always say to yourself, God, I wish there was a way you could found a way to retain this type of talent. Like, these dudes don't come along all the time. This is somebody who's been around for decades. This is somebody who has built one of the pillars of the video game industry, and Halo helped build it. Like, this is a talented dude. God, I wish we could keep him. But you got to wish the guy at this point in his career nothing but success in whatever he chooses to do, right?
He's earned that at the very least.
He's earned it all and then some. And the opportunity for him to go here, and I'm glad that Ains brought up the fact that he wrote one of the best-selling Halo books. That's something I brought up this morning on Living Split Screen as well. What an opportunity for Joseph, man. If he's going to go head a team over there to build a AAA IP, and Netflix is talking to him going, yeah, we've got some big plans. You get this AAA IP together in video game format. We want to turn this into a show or a movie or whatever the case may be. Well, you got a writer in Joseph that understands how to do this for a video game IP right there in the room. Now he's got complete creative control. How many people get to say that? So it's potential for him to not only get another video game IP credit underneath his belt, but now he might have a TV series, movie credit underneath his belt for writing. Right? That's something that you kind of lay down at night when you go to bed, and you kind of get proud of yourself over accomplishing that, especially after spending all this time in the industry like he has. So shout out to him. I think there's a ton of opportunity over there for him. It's going to be probably, from what we're aware of, we haven't heard of any other AAA games from Netflix right now in production or even starting. This might be their first big foray, and Joseph's going to be the face of that IP. And if he knocks it out of the park, if he brings some of that Halo magic, well, guess what? He puts Netflix on the scene. It's cute that they have these little games, and Oxenfree 2 is a cool little indie game. It's got a fan base and some of the other stuff they've been doing. But a AAA game like we talk about, that's what you're known for. And so if he can be the first one to do something for Netflix like that, man, kudos to him. And it's going to be a big, like I said, notch in his belt, as he thinks down the road, how much longer do I have in this industry? It's going to be another high watermark for him. So yeah, shout out to Joseph, and shout out for Netflix for trying. Again, I'm always welcoming new companies coming into this space, because for us gamers, it just means more content. Sure, not everything's going to hit. Not everything's going to turn out spectacular, but at the end of the day, the more people trying, the better the chance we do get of having something special come out of it. So shout out for all of it. I like it.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're big proponents of that on this podcast. If you're new here, we love everything. So surprise, right? We want more games. We want more of everything. So this is good for us. We love the transmedia stuff, and it's super interesting because, like you said, Pong, and I'm glad you highlighted this, we've had this conversation many times about transmedia and who's going to take that, who's going to dip their toes in first, right? Like you have all of these like these fantasy football moments of these companies having conversations, being in the same place, but nothing ever really materializing. But now we have actual like consolidation. Like we have these companies going out, actually going like intentionally grabbing Joe Staten. That wasn't just like, oh, he's free on he has 6 weeks free now. Like, let's go ahead and grab him and see what he's doing. No, that was 100% intentional. We want a video game. Like we need somebody with that background to come make a game for us. So this is super interesting. And like you said, I'm happy. Depending whether it fails or not, that's not the point to me. They're making an effort and they're trying to do something that hasn't been done, and I'm all for it. So let me throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this once again, man. Netflix. I know we've talked about Amazon mostly, because I know we figured that will be the one to take that first step, and they've gone out and bought some talent, some studios, things like that, but they still really haven't taken that big step. This sounds like the first big one for Netflix. So where are you at with that?
Yeah. Well, just briefly on the Amazon thing, I think they're standing on the sidelines to acquire Sony, but that's my tinfoil hat aspect on that, and I got another tinfoil hat aspect on this whole deal with Netflix, and I have to take it here, even if it's just far-fetched, but in the grand scheme of things, if we look back at some of Microsoft's acquisitions in the past, a lot of times they'll have employees that are either board members or wind up leaving Microsoft to go to other places. More recently, you got Mike Ibarra and Rod Ferguson that went over to Blizzard. And people joke about saying, "Oh, they're a plant," considering afterwards the whole deal with Microsoft doing the acquisition. Now that's kind of hard to pin or tie the strings between the two pinpoints, but in a way it seems somewhat valid. But as of December of last year, there was a report on was it Reuters news site. One of their analysts was saying that maybe Microsoft is in the I guess the business, or not the business, but in the means to look to acquire Netflix, after the Activision deal. And it points to some of their partnerships as far as for advertising, because at that point, I think Netflix had dropped Google for their advertising dollars. And I think they're in the process of still renegotiating the contract with Amazon on the AWS that they use for their streaming service. So with Joseph Staten going over to Netflix, and congrats to him, being able to have the opportunity to head up a studio to do a new multi-platform AAA game. That's one heck of a deal that I'm pretty sure probably Microsoft couldn't swing quite as well, or maybe there was a bigger bag involved with Netflix. But
definitely the bag was crazy. We already know that.
But from a tinfoil hat standpoint, I want to put that as a bookmark, and let's see in a year or two if there is some more talks, or if the conversation comes up again of Microsoft trying to acquire Netflix or something, because now Joseph could be kind of that plant over at Netflix to kind of get some insight on the inner workings. And I think they also have some board members that are like members of the board over there, or on the they're like high shareholders over at Netflix. So we'll see if that talk comes up. But back to their aspects of gaming, it's always great to have another platform out here, trying their hand at gaming, and hopefully that'll make the ones that are currently in the space a little bit more competitive for our dollars as things push forward. But Oxenfree didn't really play the first one. Second one being exclusive to Netflix. Well, no. It's on everything but Xbox. Just seems like kind of a weird shot to some extent, but understandable if they're seen as a competitor with the Game Pass service and things like that. But I'm looking past that, and who knows? Maybe all of the things that we see under Netflix somehow either gets partnered up later on down the road or acquired. I know that's one heck of a price tag. We're probably talking like 190 billion, which was all of the liquid cash that Microsoft had like a couple of years ago, which they still got a decent amount of that, and they can always do loans and shares and things like that. But maybe this is for the long game of further consolidation. But good to see, or great to see for Joseph, and more competition for our dollars means better days for us as gamers. So we all win.
Awesome. Well, and that's the one thing I want to highlight here too. Shout out to Joe for everything he's done for the Halo franchise. I know some people took the opportunity to dunk on this whole situation. Obviously, we don't do that here. We understand the business aspect to this. Sometimes creative people get bored and they want to go do other creative things. Sometimes it's as simple as that. We don't really know. I'm sure he'll never come out and say specifically, but I'm just happy to see him still being in the industry, still making video games on somebody's platform, because he's way too talented to be sitting at home. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to see him out doing things and getting this opportunity that doesn't come around very often. How many times, Ains, a person with his reputation, with his, the amount of time he's been in the industry, get this opportunity?
Oh, there's a handful of people like him in the industry. I mean, a handful. So I don't blame Netflix at all for just picking up the bag and throwing it at them and saying, hey, if they're serious about it, like we said, this is the first step, and it's a good first step. By the way, shout out to King Webb. I was way off. Apparently, Netflix has over 230 million paid subscribers. So that's a lot of paid subscribers. So
is that shared? Is that shared passwords or actual paid? What do you think?
Oh Lord, yeah, we didn't get the detail. You got to change the filter, King Web. We got to filter out the shared accounts.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that's the opportunity there is huge. I wish him nothing but the best. As you guys already said, he deserves it. He's a genuinely good dude. He's one of the few kind of leaders over there I didn't get to meet personally. But he just everything about him just screams class. So I wish him all the best.
Absolutely. Same here. Big fan of his. Always will be. You know, whatever game he comes out, I hope it's on Xbox, right? I hope we get a chance to get it on the platform. If it's not, you will just have to go wherever it's at. So, you know that's how it goes, Ains, right? You got to pull up wherever the game shows up, we're there. So, but yeah, great topic, man. And chat, once again, let us know what you guys think about this. Not only these topics for us here on the panel, but for you guys as well. And some quick shout outs. I see TSWS Gaming. Shout out to you. I know I saw him in here earlier as well, but Spooky, Zinc, everybody hanging out, man. Appreciate all you guys chilling with us, man. Once again, hit that like button. So I'm throwing the baton over to my right hand man. Now they're gonna take us down the road. We don't know which road we starting with this week, so we're gonna start with you on this one, Paul. Where we going this week, brother?
Well. Since we have Ains here, and since we started off the show, let's continue with some Diablo 4 talk.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, sir. This week we got what I'm going to call a developer direct. I just love the direct name, so I'm just going to go developer direct. Developer deep dive, whatever you want to call it, live stream, whatever you want to say. They had a 90-minute showing on 420. There was a lot of shows on 420 actually, which was kind of weird. But anyways, the Diablo one, the Diablo one obviously takes the cake, right? And we got a little surprise out of there, of course, in the announcement that all of us addicts out here who were begging for some more drugs, please.
Yeah,
Blizzard.
not named Steel Rain either.
Not named Steel. Nope, not named Steel. Steel's done. Steel's had his fill. He's gonna wait until June 1st. By the way. Yeah, shout out to Steel. June 1st, he's gonna sit on the sidelines till June 1st. He's done with it. That's fine. Listen, he wasn't even gonna play the beta, and we coerced him into playing the beta. He's not a beta guy. He likes to wait for the full release. But we coerced him. He got his fill. He's done. The rest of us who have been waiting, the rest of us who can't wait for Mother to come back, hail Lilith, we've been out here hitting up Blizzard nonstop on Twitter, on the social medias, on our podcast, and they listened and they announced a final beta May 12th through the 14th called Slam the Servers, #Slam the Servers. They want to stress test this immensely so that they can go ahead and have hopefully a handle on things, which I still don't think they're going to have a handle on things, but I'm hoping they're going to do better. They also announced that they're going to level cap this one at level 20. Your previous characters from the open or closed betas will not be there. You will start fresh this time around. But people who did not have an opportunity to play in those betas or chose not to and now want to hop in and earn the Wolf Baby pack and one of the titles can do so. Also, if you beat the world boss at level 20, you will also get a mount trophy. Now, some people had confusion, and Rod came out and cleared that up yesterday. Some people thought you were actually getting the whole horse, the whole mount. No. You're getting the horn on the back. Yeah. Okay, so
like
you're not getting
right.
So that was the big, that was the big surprise, and they had been hinting at it, and there was a lot of people guessing at that. So absolutely amazing. So again, if you've been waiting to play some more Diablo 4, May 12th through the 14th, you'll have the opportunity. Nothing's going to carry over. It's nothing like that, but you'll have one more chance to jump in before it goes live in June. So that was a great announcement. But I want to get to the actual developer talk. They did 90 minutes. I'm going to shout this out again. I've been shouting it out on a regular basis on a lot of my shows when we talk about this. Blizzard is giving every developer the roadmap on how you be transparent with your new game coming out. And if you want to speak to your community, Blizzard is doing this with the chef's kiss right now. Like, these guys and gals are on point with how they're doing this. So they came and did a 90-minute deep dive talking about all the changes that they got for the feedback from the betas, the open and closed betas, what they changed, what they saw, And those changes are actually going to be in the beta on May 12th through the 14th. So we'll see some of those class changes. They even changed the font in the UI because some people said it looked too mobile-ish. So they gave it a little bit more flair. But they also deep dived the end game stuff. So we got to find out exactly how it's going to work. We've been given some information on this before, but they really haven't gone in depth, and they did this time around. And so I just want to get everybody's kind of opinion, what stood out here real quick. I'm going to run down, I'm not going to read everything, but I'm just going to run down some of the things that we found out about. Level 50, you hit level 50. Max level is 100 for anybody wondering, but you hit level 50. And that allows you to move to the next world tier. You're locked into world tier 1 and 2 until you hit level 50, but then you just don't get to automatically go to the next world tier. You actually have to do what they're calling a capstone dungeon. So you have to run a dungeon that is going to be of higher difficulty, that you're going to need your character with some pretty good stats for level 50, some good gear, to complete this dungeon. And you kind of have to prove yourself that you're worthy to go on to the next world tier. So we found out about the capstone dungeons. We found out about the different items that are going to be dropping. So we know the basics, right? The common and epic and legendary and rare. But they're also going to have, and obviously in past Diablos, we've had equipment sets. We've had the greens, right, that were special equipment sets that you could get bonuses on. But this time around, you're going to start seeing sacred drops once you go over level 50, right? And then once you get to, I think it's past level 70, you're going to start seeing ancestral drops. So they're adding 2 new tiers to these equipment drops, weapons, stuff, and equipment. Yeah, man. And these are going to have legendary powers attached to them. So you're going to be obviously grinding for that perfect gear set that actually matches your character's style. And they said that when you get to the ancestral part and the sacred part, they're going to find items that may not work with your character. You're probably not going to want to break them down or sell them. You may want to hold them for trading because that's how valuable some of these are going to be. So I thought that was very, very interesting, expanding upon exactly what your character is going to look like at the end. We learned about Helltide, right? Helltide is a special event that happens randomly throughout the world. It goes for an hour. It rains blood from the sky. Different portals open up and drop out monsters. There's going to be loot caches scattered throughout that area that are going to contain specific items. So you're going to want to scout out this area prior to, because you are on a time limit. And you're also, while you're killing monsters, going to be collecting a new type of currency within Helltide that you'll be able to bring back to town and obviously spend there for different items. If you die, you lose, right? So you don't want to die. And so another new aspect that they're bringing into this game, nightmare dungeons, right? So once you get up past level 50, you'll be able to start doing nightmare dungeon runs. And you're going to be able to give these dungeons different aspects. And these aspects are going to change how the dungeon plays, from random monsters spawning that aren't normally in that dungeon to just increasing difficulty. These nightmare dungeons are going to be scattered. You're going to get different sets. I believe they said of 20, I think. There's 120 total dungeons, but they said at any given time there's going to be 20 to 30 that you can turn into nightmare dungeons, something like that. So that's another new aspect that we learned about as well. Then they got into the Paragon levels. And the Paragon levels is where things got really interesting for me, because this is where I see some Path of Exile and some other games influence on Diablo. Now, we've had Paragon levels before, don't get me wrong, but how they've expanded the actual tree and what they're doing with it is really different from previous Diablos. And they talked about this, and this was the key thing that I pulled out of it, is that you can have 2 sorcerers, let's say lightning-based sorcerers, built exactly the same way. But once you get to Paragon, those 2 players can choose completely different Paragon paths, and their play styles are going to wind up being completely separate from each other, completely different, not anything alike. That, to me, adds a whole new level to everything that I love about Diablo and about creating that perfect main that I want to run time and time again. And yes, they talked about it. You're going to be able to respec for gold and all that kind of stuff as well. So don't worry. You're going to be able to fix your character. But there was a lot. And again, I recommend anybody that's interested in Diablo 4 go back and watch this. It was fantastic. They did an awesome job of explaining everything. So Ains, I'm sure you've watched this as a huge Diablo fan.
Yeah.
If not more than once, I'm sure you've watched it a couple times to pick out the little nuggets out of this. So number one question, it's a two-part question. Number one, are you jumping back into the beta May 12th through the 14th? And what class are you planning on maining? If you know already, or if you're undecided, let us know. And then number two, what out of this whole dev direct, this 90 minutes, really stood out to you, especially as somebody who is a hardcore Diablo fan, somebody who has put the time in and understands the mechanics behind Diablo, at least the old Diablos? What stood out for you, kind of new, fresh, exciting going forward, especially endgame stuff? What's going on?
Yeah, man. First, great overview and shout out of what they're kind of doing here. One of the nice things about Blizzard, and I agree with you 100% that Blizzard's putting on a clinic of how to satisfy your hardcore fans. What I find really interesting, right, is that Diablo, for the hardcore Diablo fans, they're the guys, like I said, like me, who are going to put thousands of hours into these games, but doing builds and, like you said, perfecting everything, doing it with every class, and yep. There's that layer of people in Diablo, and knowing that Blizzard recognizes that your guy who walks into GameStop, buys Diablo just to try it, has no idea all the stuff you just mentioned, right? They're just picking up the game to play it.
Yep.
That's not what the developer direct. I'll use your word. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
The developer direct.
Thank you.
That's not for them, right? These developer segments, 90 minutes long, deep dives, they're for people like me and us. And I love that they've catered to that. And even though they've brought on what you would, I guess nowadays call a Diablo influencer, they bring the right people on. And what I mean by that are the people who fit the theme. They're not there to just put on a show. They're there to talk about the changes that are being discussed and how they impact the hardcore players. And they've done a fantastic job of that with Diablo and Blizzard in general. They just nail that stuff usually.
Right.
So a lot of it I had a good sense of. So again, I follow every blog. So they've been doing quarterly updates on Diablo for past year and a half or so. And we always cover those. I usually summarize them on the site. And so there's a lot to be excited here. To answer your first question, who am I going to main? I'm between Druid and Barb.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
My main, I am a sword and board guy. So in Diablo 3, it was the Crusader, which wasn't at launch, right? Came later. Paladin in the old school Diablos. But I love sword and board. Sadly, again, we're not launching with it. So Diablo 3, I went Barbarian. And right now, I can't decide between Druid and Barbarian, but it's going to be one of those two.
You heard you can become a permanent werewolf now, Ains.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well,
yes,
they
said that there is going to be gear that will make you permanently.
Oh, so beautiful.
I missed that one. I like building tanks for whatever reason. Like, I know that you can build kind of a range class that's like glass cannon and melt everything easier. But to me, the challenge of standing in the middle of 50 enemies and just living, I love that. I just love it. So that's what I build towards. And then I think what really stands out to me, you actually mentioned Path of Exile, which is a good shout out because another game, I literally am a paid beta supporter of them since like 2013 or something. Fantastic group over there, Grinding Gear Games out of Australia. Fantastic game. Path of Exile has kind of taken on the mantle for a lot of hardcore ARPG players, where those guys thought Diablo 3 kind of went wrong in some areas. Diablo 4, obviously, as you said correctly, they are kind of taking the lessons that Path of Exile has taught the ARPG genre and incorporating them into Diablo 4, which is great to see. I think, to your point, the ancestral uniques being the level 100 kind of end cap loot is probably the most exciting thing to me. I'm a loot whore through and through.
Oh, same, bro. I'm not even ashamed at all. I'm not ashamed at all.
Not at all, man. I wear that badge proudly. I will play for hours, and the loot drop is like the biggest sensation for me. I'm a sucker for it. That's just why I love those games. And so I think the combination of kind of the ancestral uniques, the late game stuff, and the Paragon, as you called out, the ability to really, really spend a lot of time messing around with different builds and optimizing and combining the rare ancestral unique drop with Paragon changes and just that endless tinkering, I guess is a good word. That's what excites me the most for sure about Diablo 4. And you've just got me Freaking excited again. Every time I try to get it out of my head for a little bit, and I will be jumping into the beta. I can't resist. I'm going to be playing it again.
Awesome. Perfect.
I hit 25 in both of the other betas, the closed and the open. I wrote up a whole 3,000 word review of it.
I read it, sir.
I adore it, man. So I can't resist. I'll be in there again for sure.
Nice. All right, perfect. And I'm going to come back to you too, Ains, at the end with a quick one too.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the new guy, to the action RPGs. Let's go to PTK Blam.
Hey.
Although, you know what? You say you're new to ARPGs, but as a division player, a heavy, high-level division player, you are already most of the way there.
Yeah.
Action RPGs, right?
Yeah,
that loot grind in Division is the exact same, right? That's the tinkering with the numbers, and we're going to get to the other guy, Fuzzy, who is even more so into that next. But PTK, for you, kind of new, fresh to this, specifically Diablo, right? Because you hadn't really even tried Diablo until Diablo 3. Yeah. Right, you hadn't at all. And actually Torchlight, of all things, is what got you into this, right?
Oh, so, Torchlight, good stuff.
Yes, absolutely, great stuff. So for you, listening to this now that you have a baseline knowledge of what you're getting yourself into, right, PTK, and you understand, like I said, as a division player, you know where you're going with this, right? This is going to become your life for quite a while if you want to play at a high level, which by the sound of your voice, I know you do. So hearing them expound upon exactly where they're taking the end game. What do I do after I make my first run? After I hit level 50? After I hit level 70? Where are we going with this? What stood out to you from that? But obviously the first question, same to you. Are you playing the beta, May 12th through the 14th? And have you decided on a main yet, sir?
So absolutely playing a beta. Sorry, Steel. I know how you feel about that kind of stuff. I do not care at all, with the utmost due respect, Steel. But I'm definitely jumping back in. I can't get enough of it. I told you after I played it, everything after felt a little hollow.
Right.
Like everything's felt a little off. Like, this doesn't feel exactly the same. So that's how I know I'm heavily invested. So yes, I'm definitely playing a beta. And I will be maxing that character out. I only got to play with the Druid last time. And that, by the way, since we're talking about it, that's going to be my main, more than likely Druid, as well as probably Sorcerer. Because I still got to do my mage stuff.
Oh yeah.
I always do the Wizard Mage.
Yep.
I was that way with Destiny. You know what I mean? So I got to get my mage stuff in. So I'm going to probably bounce between the two, but mainly Druid, because I like the balance of the hybrid defense, offense. You can kind of switch back between either or, in the metamorphics and the werewolves. It's just cool. It's really, really cool, and I like it. So yeah, definitely. But as far as what I'm most excited about, being newer to the franchise, like you stated earlier, I don't have as much of that intricate details as far as like min-max building, but I know what it feels like. And I started to feel that as I played the beta. Once I started tinkering with gear, tinkering with the numbers, tinkering with things, I started to get that division feel all over again. And when I feel that, that's when I know I'm in a really good space, and I want to stay there. So I'm going to stay in that space, and I'm going to play Diablo 4 as much as possible. Like I said, it's definitely going to take over probably Division 2 for me. We'll see where that goes down the line. I know we're waiting on a bunch of updates from that, but Diablo is probably going to be that game that in between everything else, that's going to be what I'm playing, because I love the tinkering. And you're the same way, Ains. I know you mentioned this earlier as well. Like, I love the min-max stuff. That Paragon stuff.
Oh, man.
Man. And the way it's so it's funny because you sent me a screenshot of what PoE's skill tree looks like. I thought it was a schematic. I thought it was a schematic for like a nuclear reactor. I'm like, what am I looking at?
Ains, isn't that great? The first time people actually see the PoE skill tree.
People are like, oh, okay. So like, is that just like single? I was like, no, everything's a skill and it combines. The best part about Path of Exile is it's one for all the classes.
Right.
So you can like meld and mix them together. It's crazy, man.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It looked insane. And I was like, what is this, Pong? That's literally what I typed. What is this? I didn't know what it was. He's like, oh, that's the skill tree for PoE. I said, oh, and ... Like, what the hell? Like, so as I become more, I get more in tune with that. I become more used to that with the Paragon board and things like that. Like, I like those changes. I understand the language. I might not get all the terms and be able to get everything right away, but I understand what they're saying, like what that's going to enable you to do to get the absolute most out of the build that you're trying to make, out of the hundreds and thousands of builds that people are going to get together or put together. I'm all for that, Ains. That's what I love to do, bro. And I love the loot. Give me loot. I will sit and grind for a weapon, a piece of armor for days on end, just to see that, just to see that legendary pop or whatever, color it may be. That's I'm that kind of guy.
God.
So
Diablo, do you? I don't think you realize how much trouble you're in.
Oh, I
You're in
do.
a lot of trouble, my friend.
Listen, I do. I absolutely do, man. And it's good trouble though. Like I'm embracing that. Like, please,
it's the best kind of pain.
Oh yeah, all hell the mother. I'm on board. I'm already converted. Pong didn't even have to do anything. He just, But yeah, so that's where I'm at, Pong. Even being as new as I am, and they've sold me. And like you said, it's the quality and care that's been shown. They've been putting on a absolute clinic. You can write a book on how to roll out a game. And how to get to your established fan base, as well as put out a beta that did fantastic, as well as introduce new feedback and add all of these cool things that even the hardcore, diehard Diablo fans have been waiting for. That's really, really hard to do, especially in 2023.
Yeah, and they understand the key is a portion of the key is to win over that original fan base and to bring back some of the original fan base. That Ains and I both talked about that didn't necessarily like the direction of 3. If they can win a portion of them back, you're never going to win everybody over. We know that the Halo community is, God, man, we got so many examples. Fanatical, fans, you're never going to make them all happy. But if you can win a portion back and you can show them that you're putting the care and that you are listening in and adapting to some of the critiques. You don't change your entire game. You don't just go by the hardcore fans, because we know most games would turn out terrible if developers did that. But to say that, no, we are listening and here's what we're doing in that direction, and you show them how it's going to, affect some of the gameplay that they thought wasn't there or that was wrong or that was bad in the previous iteration. That's how you do this, because those hardcore fans then start talking about it, especially in this day and age of social media. Then it starts spreading. That's the one thing, again, we see this all the time. We've seen this multiple times. Diablo 4's beta hit the masses. The Diablo 4 beta all of a sudden went from a lot of, Diablo fans really, really super excited about it, to all of a sudden people who had never touched a Diablo game jumping on Twitter saying, oh my God, I'm playing Diablo. Never thought I'd like a game like this. I'm loving this. Did you see what happened here? I can't believe it. This is great. That's when you know you're onto something special. Blizzard has recaptured a piece of that magic again that set the bar back in the day with Diablo 2, that kind of created a whole genre unto itself. Like it really did. And I can't wait to see what they do.
I want to remind you of something before we throw this over to Fuzz or the next person.
Yeah.
LOL Call of Duty. Let's make sure we put that out there too, because like you said, that was people didn't even consider Diablo, and I don't know how. And we talked about it. And Ains, we got the receipts here on the show. You can go back and look at the archives. We talked about, you guys are like, listen, we get Call of Duty as a crown jewel, but is it really, when you consider what Diablo 4 is about to do and the type of game that it's turning into, Ains? Like,
people were drastically underestimating Blizzard in this deal. Yeah, big time. You're talking about Diablo, Warcraft, Overwatch. I mean, come on.
Did you see the article where they said a surprise hit in Diablo 4?
Yes, I did. I actually tweeted about it. I was like, God damn, these guys are clueless.
People forget how people memory hold Bethesda, A-Team games from Todd, and how they memory hold games like Diablo, because we don't see new versions very often. It's crazy how it happens. But those of us that have been around for long enough, we get how big these things are.
And they're not it doesn't feel like it's generally part of the same conversation we have every day. So people don't realize how big those communities are. And that's true of both Bethesda and Blizzard. But I just looked it up really quick. They said just the open beta, over 61 million hours played of Diablo 4. So do the math on that, right? So
in a weekend, right? That's two
in a weekend, 61 million hours played in one weekend. So, I mean, even if you're looking at 20 million people, which probably it wasn't, but even if you do that, that means you had 20 million people engaged on a weekend for more than 3 hours of their time each, which is
what was it? 2 million
bonkers.
people maxed, right? 2 million got to level 25 or something like that.
something
Yeah,
crazy.
and unlock the stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Right,
people,
right.
the amount of engagement this game is going to have is going to be off the charts.
It really is. All right. Thanks for PTK for your thoughts, sir. Great as always. And I can't wait to obviously jump into Diablo 4 with you. We're going to have so much fun. This is going to be a blast. But let's get to Fuzzy. A min-maxer for sure. This guy, this guy here.
Yes.
He's got the calculator and the Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. Ubisoft is about to get restraining orders against this man for his Division 2 math, because every time they put out a patch, he's in there doing the actual math on how wrong their calculations are, according with their new mods and everything else that they've got in there, the new weapons. My damage is down 0.01.8%, and this is supposed to be up 2%. What are you doing? So let's get to this man right here, because I think from what I heard from Fuzzy, and we played together for a while, Fuzz, on Diablo 4 as well, I'm hearing a lot of excitement from you, sir, on this. So first of all, have you figured out what your main is going to be? Are you going to jump into that new beta? And then if you had an opportunity to watch this, or if you caught some of the articles out there kind of reviewing this 90-minute dev direct, as I'm calling it, what kind of excited you about the end game? I think I know where you're going to go, but obviously give me where you're at with this now that you kind of heard what their plans are after you get up to those caps.
Now, unfortunately, I missed their direct dive type of deal, only because I made sure I watched the one for Ubisoft with the whole Division Day deal. Yeah. And then the wife dragged me out to see, what was it, Evil Dead Rise. So it kind of threw me off a bit. But all of that said, I'm definitely hopping into this beta. This is like another Christmas gift from Blizzard in any respect of the matter. It was an unexpected surprise, and I'm glad they're doing it. But it gives me the opportunity, since I didn't do the original closed beta because I didn't pre-order it until after the open beta. It gives me this opportunity to kind of figure out what I want to make as my main. Because right now, like, I've only played as the sorcerer, and I think that might wind up being my main because I like lightning, and I got to figure out if I want to do a fire and ice or fire and something else kind of blend for the sorcerer. But I want to try a few other builds. But hearing your overview of what they have for the end game, just knowing what I've done over the years with Division 1 and 2, I guess the biggest question I'm going to have is, how many characters can you have in the save kind of thing? Because I already run 4 characters for Division 2. One is still
Diablo 3, you can have either 8 or 10.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, so if they allow that amount, I'm going to have at least one of each class if I can.
But you can. Yeah.
Yeah, that perfect. So I guess the big thing now is going to be with this upcoming beta. I got to try a few of these classes. I got to try the rogue. I got to try the necromancer and stuff like that. But man, hearing that they have like the paragon levels and like ancestral gear and things along those lines, like being a fan of like mixing gear sets with different weapons and looking at how they synergize with the overall build. Yeah, I underestimated how much time I'm probably going to spend in this game. Because, like, for me, my big thing that I kind of missed from Division 1 that I used to do, that Division 2 doesn't really have the greatest build right now, is a full-on fire build. Like, you have survivability for fire, but you don't have, like, even with the fire turret, it's not the same as it was in the Division 1, where you could just melt things, like literally melt things. I mean, you can kind of do it with the chemical launcher and set things ablaze that way, but it's like short bursts. So given what I've seen from just messing around with the sorcerer, this is going to be a tough, was it May 12th to the 14th for me? Because I'm definitely going to be trying to set everything on fire. Just basically have a ring of fire around me the entire time if I can. But this is, I'm not going to have the calculator out until later on, like once I get a couple of characters probably to a level 100 or something along those lines. But man, that's all of the language I wanted to hear in a game where I'm another loot whore, I guess you could say, where hearing that chime of seeing gold and orange things drop, and if you're going to have like, you know, kind of like these green gear kind of set things drop as well. Yeah, this is going to be a time sink for sure for me. So this is just going to make things tougher. Like I thought the backlog was bad enough. Like being a big Forza fan, I'm definitely dedicating time to that. Now I'll kind of move out of GT7 and focus on Forza Motorsport. But the big thing now is going to be dividing up time between Starfield, Diablo, probably still some Division until they talk about a Division 3. But man, all the stuff I love to hear as far as different builds, different you know, like tiers and levels and the capstone stuff. Like, now are those dungeons solo, or can you do it as a group kind of thing?
From what they were saying, solo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the capstone is the one you have to beat to be able to advance your world tier, and there's one between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. But then all the other stuff like the nightmare dungeons that you can use the sigils to, then it's out of Path of Exile. That's what they did. You use sigils to change up the nightmare dungeons. All that is co-op, if you want it to be.
Okay, and basically those nightmare things are almost like the I can't think of the word now. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. It's almost like the things that you could use for the Division, where you turn off the map, where you make it so the enemies have, you know,
different aspects. Yes.
So you make it harder on yourself, and it can stack. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It reminds me of my favorite expansion in Division was Division 1 with the procedural generated runs. Yeah, the underground stuff, and it's kind of like
too.
Sweet. Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's like the dungeons are randomly kind of generated. You can modify them with modifiers to make it harder, bigger loot drops, different bosses, etc. And you can run all that in co-op. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to suck for the backlog now, but man, I can't wait.
I've told everyone, like Street Fighter 6, I'm pumped for. Like, there's a ton of games coming out in summer, and I continue to repeat. Once Diablo 4 drops, you're not going to see me. Like, forget about it.
Unless you're in there. Unless you're running.
Yeah, unless you're in my game, I'm not talking to
you. That's great. That's great, Fuzz. Again, it's so much fun to hear other people get hyped like this. Even people that may or not have been in the past the biggest Diablo fans, or not touched it at all, like PTK up until recently. Get into that mode. Like, this is what Diablo was when 2 dropped, right? This was we didn't have social media. We didn't have a bunch of people from across the globe we can talk to that to feel that hype, but that's what it was. It was a moment in time that you just can't repeat. But Diablo 4 is now bringing new people in, and, you know, even just, you know, people that aren't, you know, extreme Diablo fans are now starting to catch that fire in them about how big this game is going to be, as Ains talked. Real quick, I got a question for Ains to end this real quick about Diablo, since I got him here.
Sure.
Real quick, I'm going to run through mine. So yes, of course, I'm playing the beta. I was one of the people out here hitting up Blizzard saying, listen, I need some more Lilith in my life. Please get Mother back. You know, all this kind of stuff. So yes, of course, I'm dropping back in there again. I have already settled in on my main. Surprisingly for me, it is Rogue. I had the most fun with Rogue. Normally, I'm a Sorcerer or Necro. Those are my two. Everybody's being Necro, so I was like, I'm not going to be. Everybody's going to be a Necro, for God's sakes. Now they nerfed it, so I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Yeah, man.
But so normally I am that magic guy. But this time, I played Sorcerer and I played Rogue to max in the betas, and I had the most fun with Rogue. Range, poison-based Rogue, I was having absolute blast with, and I can't wait to see more from it. So I'm definitely going to main Rogue this time around. As far as what caught my attention, again, I can't say enough about the loot. I am a loot whore through and through. I'll just continue that same kind of theme here. I'm a loot whore. Again, when I hear that ding in Diablo is right next to achievements, when you hear the diamond achievements.
I love it.
Ding,
I'm the same way, bro.
It brings a smile to my face every time. And the fact that they've added sacred levels, the fact that they've added this ancestral levels, like that chase for that perfect gear for my character is going to be an absolute blast. I've done it in Division. I've done it in Diablo 2. I did it everywhere. Whenever you give me loot, I'm good. And so that's what really got me excited on top of the Paragon stuff, because again, as somebody who has not played Path of Exile the way I've played Diablo, but I have played Path of Exile quite a bit. That's what excited me as soon as I saw Diablo 4 and where they were taking it, seeing that open up, seeing seeing the ability to make my character unique at those high levels, and really getting down and dirty with the numbers and trying to get that min-max for that last boss run is where I'm at. So I can't wait. So I'm excited for that. But Ains, I want to turn it back to you real quick, sir.
Okay.
And ask you a final question, because Diablo 4, as you stated in the beginning, this is kind of, they've continued to support Diablo 3 all these years. I mean, again, it's crazy, but they're on season 38 or something crazy now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the game has changed so much, but this is going to be, Diablo 4 is built from the ground up to be a games as a service type game, a game that we are going to be playing potentially 8-10 years from now. But we've seen how much Diablo 3 changed, right? And we're hearing all of this goodness right out the gates from Diablo 4. And of course, we got to see how it all mixes together in the final product. There's a lot of working pieces here. Some, one thing out of whack can all of a sudden change and they got to go in and fix it and all that kind of stuff. We know how this goes. But let's just assume they come out the gate this fast and they got these pieces in place and the synergy is there and everything is kind of working. For you, they've got monster, your level cap is 100. You go up to 150 in monsters, they said. They do have a final boss plan, they said, kind of an end game boss, like be all end all, where you're going to have like the ultimate character to beat it. But what do you see this team at Blizzard? How do you see Diablo 4 evolving? Let's say, a few years down the road, 5 years from around the road. What do you think from all the Diablo you've played? You've seen Blizzard at their best and at some of their lowest points. Where do you think they take this game going forward that's going to give it that life through the next 5-10 years, maybe even more?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, you said it. The interesting thing about Diablo 4. So for those who aren't familiar with Diablo 3's launch, I could, spend 20 minutes talking about the disaster that it was. So if you're not familiar, Diablo 3 only launched on PC. You couldn't play it for days because the servers were in such bad shape. I built a PC for that game, and I couldn't play it. You couldn't log in. The loot was a disaster. The live auction house where people paid real money for loot, not a joke. I sold a legendary ring for $60. It paid for my game. But they took that out. I mean, it was a miserable mess. And coming off of Diablo 2, which is a legendary game, the hardcore Diablo fans were super disappointed. And as we've covered, Blizzard spent the next several years really correcting that. And Diablo 3 is, I would argue, a legendary game as well at this point. But I think with Diablo 4, what's most interesting to me is that most of the good stuff from Diablo 3, is already in Diablo 4. And they've gone back to the darker aesthetic, right? A lot of people wanted kind of to get away from the Warcraft look and get more to like Path of Exile, where it's dark and, Diablo. That's what Diablo started as. Exactly. And then also the Paragon stuff, the late game, the end game stuff, the loot, the classes, they've got a lot of that there. And then on top of that, if you're not aware as well, it actually is going to have a battle pass. And I know that could be a bad word for some people. But I think that they're going to continue into this model where you focus on cosmetics and things. That's what Path of Exile does as well. And I think that they continue to build that over time. What I believe they'll do in years is they will end up adding, I'm going to switch it. They better end up adding a paladin or a crusader, a sword and board guy, because that's where I live and breathe at the end of the day. And I think they'll do similar to Reaper of Souls, where in this game you have that kind of open world structure where you go region to region. There's 5 regions. So I think they'll add to that, right? The possibilities with the engine and the way they've structured it from a kind of almost a partial MMO, not to throw the word out there, but it's kind of like a, there's open world sections in it where it's community based. Just like, again, we keep going back to Path of Exile. They took a lot from Path of Exile. They really did.
They did.
But I think they continue to expand that, right? So they'll add another region or 2, or who knows how many regions. They'll add another class. And I think that they'll obviously expand upon the end game. So right now, The only kind of major concern I've seen out of some of the hardcore guys is the end game, in the sense of this is how hardcore they are, right? They're already looking at the Paragon board and the Nightmare Dungeons and all this other stuff, and they're like, "Is that it?" You know, those
Right,
guys.
right.
And it's like, okay, guys, this is the launch. You know what I mean? So I think
saw
they
that,
will.
and I didn't know how to feel because I'm so new. I'm like, is this how I'm supposed to behave? Like, no, for real. I wasn't sure. Like, as a new Diablo player, so what I did was I watched a few videos. I said, you know what? Those guys are crazy. I'm going to ignore them. So that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, those are the guys that every community has them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they'll just continue to build upon that. That's really what I want to see out of them. And I think that given what we've already know about this about Diablo 4 and how it's kind of struck a chord with not only all the hardcore guys like us and others, but it's reaching that broader audience as well. They're definitely going to have the investment, the team, the talent, everything that you need to continue building on this game for years to come. And that's what makes me so excited.
Isn't even
about
dry yet, Ains. Oh,
I know.
goodness.
I know. I mean, just you think about all the possibilities there. It's crazy. And then the last point I'll make, as I heard the four of us talking, if I've got this right, we've got PTK with Druid, we've got Pong with Rogue, we've got Fuzzy with Sorcerer, which means if I go Barb,
Yep,
we have a hell of a foursome, my friends. We gotta do that.
Absolutely, Ains. Absolutely. No, I love what you're putting down there. And I think the other thing is the story, Ains. The story for the Diablo fans, the hardcore fans, the story has always been good, and the lore has been extremely interesting. And there's a lot of people that have deep dived it. But this story seems like they took a lot more time with it.
Yes.
And it's grabbed people a different way. Like,
Yep.
really, like there's people like a lot of times would skip through NPCs and that kind of stuff in Diablos when it wasn't a main part of the story. I was actually listening, like I was playing a Bethesda RPG,
Yep.
right? Like I was like invested in the world. Like I was like, no, I want to hear what this person has to say. What's his story? What's going on? And I think that could be the defining factor for this one as well going forward. If they do those expansions, where they take the story could be of keen interest to a lot bigger audience this time around.
I think you nailed it. Yeah, even for me as someone who's hardcore and kind of followed, the core characters, Diablo 3 was forgettable in the sense of you had Deckard Cain, and I won't go crazy into it, but Diablo itself in Diablo 3 was kind of forgettable. It didn't really drive anything in that way. And, they had some awesome homages and Easter eggs for the fans and some callbacks to like Tyrael and Deckard Cain and stuff. But Lilith is already beyond.
Oh
yeah, like the recognition of her as a character for Diablo has really taken off. And I think based on just what we've seen out of Act 1, absolutely, they've gone far more cinematic, far more serious with the story. So you put that on top of everything we've already talked about, man. I'm telling you, this game is gonna run numbers on the industry, man. I'm telling you.
It is that church scene alone. My God, I still think about it every time. Oh, man.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. All right. Well, great discussion, brothers. I appreciate all of your thoughts. Great. I feel the energy. I feel the excitement. This hype is real. And this is what it's all about. And we're looking forward to June 1st or June 6th if you haven't pre-ordered it, the Ultimate Edition. But if you do pre-order, obviously you get June 1st early access. So make that decision. There's going to be a lot of us playing it, and I can't wait. So thank you all for the discussion. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And this listen, chat, I know it's turned into a pseudo Diablo show, but it's okay. We're good. We're good. Like, I'm 100% okay with that. So no, but shout out to you, Pong. Shout out for the topic, man. Once again, we're all super excited for the game. We're gonna throw this over to you, Fuzz. Take us home, man. Where we going now, Fuzz?
Well, I have a smaller topic after this one, but I want to start off with like the Xbox showcase, the summer showcase.
Man.
That's pretty much right around the corner. So we got less than 50 days to go, and I don't really want to do full on predictions, but kind of like what you would expect to see, and possibly the opening game and the closing game.
Oh, I like that.
Boy.
I like that.
Boy.
Ooh.
Now you can leave the opening or closing as a game that may not even be currently announced, kind of thing. But I'll start off with you, Ains. What do you think as far as with it being right around the corner? What do you expect to see at the summer showcase for Xbox, and What are your thoughts on like their opening game and closing game?
Yeah, man. Super important show. I think that with E3 getting canceled now, Miles and I talked about this briefly earlier from an Xbox perspective of all eyes will be on them, right? June 11th is theirs to take, and they've got 2 hours with the 30 minutes for Starfield, right? So an hour and a half show, 30 minutes for Starfield. I mean, it should be an absolute celebration of Xbox first party in theory. So I hope they deliver on that. In terms of guesses here, hadn't thought about this at all, honestly, till now, Fuzzy.
Man.
So you got me all out of whack here.
I'm glad you going first. I'm glad you the guest.
So I'll tell you what. I think they opened the show with a new IP. I think they open with something we haven't heard of or seen before. It could be something like In Exile's RPG project, their major one. Some type of teaser for it, because I think that's going to blow minds when that does finally come. It could be Compulsion's project, which they've been working on for 4+ years now. Something like that. I think we see new IP to get the show kind of hype rolling at the start. And then at the end, I mean, I don't know what order they're doing. I don't know if Starfield's 30 minutes is coming at the end, kind of like a tail presentation. So we'll see. But I think
completely separate, Ains. It's going to be
it's completely separate.
Like a break and then going into Starfield Direct. Correct.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I hadn't seen that.
Yes.
Well, then end the show. Oh boy. I'll throw 2 random ones out there. IP we know about and know have been working, but fans really want to see. So, oh God, in my mind, I just went a different direction. Damn it. I was going to say we see an actual gameplay scenario of either Avowed or Perfect Dark. But I could also see them ending with something like a Hellblade 2 full new trailer with a release date or release window, maybe. So either one of those, I think, would get the fans hyped, because I think when you kind of look across the broad spectrum of what we know is coming from Xbox, between Avowed, Perfect Dark, and especially Hellblade 2, because we feel like that's the closest of the kind of unannounced release date ones. I think those could leave the show on a really high note.
Yeah.
That's what I'll go with.
Those are awesome ideas as far as the opening and closing. And man, I tell you, this is definitely, the hype is starting to build. So I can't wait until we get to this point in June. But man, oh man, thank you for those thoughts on that. I'll go to you, Paul, next. What do you expect to see at the showcase, and then your opening and closing?
I expect to see not 12 months. That's for dang sure. I expect that we're not going to hear those words at any point. I hope that's my hope right now. So I think that we are going to be sold some hopes and dreams a little bit. I think they're going to open it up a little bit more than they did, obviously, last year for a variety of reasons that we discussed here. All speculation, but who knows why they actually did what they did last year. But obviously, there's many reasons behind why they could have made that decision, but I don't think they go back to it. So I think they do open it up. I think that we do get glimpses further beyond 2023, 2024. And I think that they even dive a little bit into 2025 with a game or two out of that next grouping that we haven't heard about. We've gotten teasers for your Fables, for your Perfect Darks, and all those kind of things, but we haven't seen anything since. And I think it's time that we see a clip. I'm not asking for a blowout. I'm not asking for a breakdown. Just give me a clip of gameplay so I can get an idea of what these games are looking like at this point. And I think that would be good. So yeah, no, that's what I'm expecting from the show. As far as opening and closing, this is a great question, Fuzz. I was not prepared for this either.
Me either.
I think
I hadn't even thought about it at all.
Yeah, I think Ains was onto something with where he was going, but I'm going to flip-flop his a little bit. So I think that they open, because Starfield is going to be directly after it, right? And that's a big RPG. I don't think they end the show with an RPG. So I think they open with an RPG, and I think we see Avowed out the gate. I think they blow our socks off with Unreal Engine 5, what Obsidian's got working. We're not going to see Elder Scrolls for probably 6-7 years. So Avowed's going to be a big, giant, high fantasy game. We're assuming in Unreal Engine 5. So I think they blow us out of the water with an Avowed trailer out the gate. And then to end the show, I'm split between two. Either they end the show with In Exile's new game, right, which I think could fit in there very nicely, or I think for fun. And I think that because it's the time to kind of hype everybody, kind of piggyback off of some hype that's going to be around during that time, I think we see Indiana Jones at the end. And I think that would be fun with the movie being out and coming out. And, I saw Pete Hines tweeting about the movie, how excited he was for the movie, right? I think it would be great to get our first glimpse of gameplay from Indiana Jones, knowing that the movie's out or right around the corner. So that's what I would do. I would have some fun and then, get everybody pumped up, everybody excited. Everybody's going to be hyped for Indiana Jones. At least all of us old heads will be hyped for it. And then roll right into Starfield. I think that's the way you do it. So,
dude, I like that. I'm stealing that one, Pong. I'll go Indiana Jones as well.
Nice. Those are awesome. Yeah, it would definitely fit the timing with Indiana Jones movie right around the corner. Yeah,
no doubt.
That definitely, you could be onto something there, Pong. We can't wait to see if that comes out to be true.
Even if it's just like a hype trailer, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Just show him with his whip. That's all I got to see. And it's over with, man.
Play the music. Just play the music.
Play the music. Him standing there with his whip with the sunset behind him or whatever. I don't care. It'd be perfect, man.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, PTK. I know you've probably taken a little bit of time just with this being on the spot kind of thing.
It didn't help at all, but go ahead.
What are your thoughts as far as what do you expect to see and then the opening and closing for the showcase?
All right. So as far as what I expect to see, I actually just did a video on this recently, but I want this to be the year that they kind of button some of the things that have been left unbuttoned. I know Ains touched on it a little bit. Ains, you mentioned things like Fable. You mentioned not Fable. Sorry, I know that's a little further out, but that's one of them as well. You mentioned things like the Compulsion IP and Exiles IP. Possibly some of the other stuff Bethesda's doing now that Deathloop and Ghostwire are all done. They've gotten that stuff done. So like there's some stuff I'd like to see them kind of button up. Like it's about time we get either a trailer and or some type of information or update about these games. So I think that they focus on that. I think that's a big deal to do, especially when you're gearing up and you got a lot more projects behind you now, right? This is even minus the ABK stuff. Imagine once the ink gets dry, now you've taken on another 10,000 employees plus everything that's on Activision's table and all the games they planned on making. And now you got to pair that with whatever Xbox is doing. So, now you're even further back as far as like how the amount of games we're playing. So I think it's crucial that they, and I know, Pong, you highlighted this, right? The order in which they put the games out with is almost as important as the games themselves, right?
Yeah,
I know you mentioned that like kind of loosely, right? Like we got to get certain games kind of out of the way. But as far as opening and closing, man, this is a good one. It's a really, really good one because they could go a lot of different ways, and I haven't thought about this much. Opening with a brand new game makes sense. I hadn't even considered that, but opening with something like Avowed, I hope to see Avowed, but opening with something like Avowed would get the energy through the roof right off the gate, right off the rip. Show us what Avowed looks like. There's already been those leaked screenshots, so we know that there's a playable build out there. How close to playable is it? If it's close enough to where it's going to come out early next year, mid next year, I'd love to see it. I'm sure we'd all love to see, even a little sizzle trailer, a vertical slice. I mean, whatever you want to show us, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully gameplay will be in there somewhere, but I'd love to see Avowed them start with that. That's a good energy, brand new IP getting us off on the right foot. And due to the nature of this, right, this is not a normal Xbox showcase, right? So we got the Starfield thing at the end of this. So I think there is some credence to what Pong said about what they show at the end because Starfield's going to be that's the end of that's the bow on the actual
it's the beginning and the end for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, for you, but even for Xbox as a whole, that's the last thing we're all going to get to see, right, from Xbox. So at the end of the day, everything's going to be before that. So maybe they close. Maybe we get something like I don't know, maybe a little bit of gameplay from Perfect Dark. You know, maybe we get something like a Hellblade 2 with the actual release date. Because you guys are right. Out of all of the games that we've kind of rolled around and had this discussion about what's going to end this year, Hellblade 2 seems to be most people's choice, right? Because, you know, as far as what we've seen, how far along the game they should be, we know that they're shifting focus. Like they've actively shifted focus at Ninja Theory to something different. They still got Project Mara. So it looks like they're wrapping, for all intents and purposes, looks like they're wrapping up Hellblade 2 for sure. So it feels like that game was the closest to coming out. So that makes sense too. So I would love to get a release window, release date, early 2024, something along those lines. I'd love to see that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a pretty good combo, kind of starting with like Avowed and finishing with Hellblade, which probably are our closest games outside of some of the, you know, maybe smaller projects and things like that. But that's an awesome wrap up on that. Now I'll give you my safe picks and my like pie in the sky kind of pick. So I didn't really put as much thought to it, but this is the safe pick is kind of what I'm hoping, you know, at least from and you'll understand when I say it, what I'm looking forward to. I think they open up the show with Forza Motorsport. And I want to say the opening will have a release window and a beta, playable that day. Not really I guess you could kind of say like a stealth drop, but there'll be more of an open beta or something to that effect that you can either sign up for. Like I know they've had previous ones, but they'll probably be in like their third or fourth quarter of, not quarter, but like their third or fourth internal test, but it'll be more open to those that are, you know, already on the platform, or if you have a previous Forza or something like that. And I think to close the show, and this may seem a little more far-fetched considering we haven't heard much other than, some possible, holds on some smaller projects. I think they end the show with Gear 6, just to kind of show people where
Don't do
Coalition
that to Ames,
is
man.
with Unreal Engine 5. And I think that's one of those where the Gears community, they're still playing the multiplayer and everything, but it's been kind of quiet on the Gears front. And Coalition's been helping a lot of other teams, but I think they've also been, digging deep as far as, getting Gears 6. Since their smaller projects have been put on hold or canceled at this point, I think they will probably have at least something to show it. Now, it may not be full on, actual gameplay, but I think we'll get to see their vision of what they expect to, extract out of Unreal Engine 5. Now, as far as my hope and dream kind of one, or pie in the sky type of deal, I like what Ames was saying as far as like between Compulsion and In Exile, but I'm pulling more for Compulsion's game just because of the like with it being kind of like dark magic in like Louisiana or the Bayou kind of area and stuff like that. I really want to see what that game will look like and what the story is going to
feels like it should have been Flintlock almost, right? Like Flintlock.
Yeah. I'm definitely hoping that that's the one that they open up with, because anytime, and yes, I get it, Phil's going to say that he's looking forward to a lot of stuff that's in their portfolio, but between the Compulsion game and In Exile's game, I think he's kind of repeated that numerous times on those two particular ones. Like he's I'm pretty sure he's looking forward to all the things in the portfolio, but the Compulsion's game is the one that I really want to see up front. But if they start with Compulsion's game, being that that's the new IP that we kind of know about, I think they end it with one that we've already seen, but will probably be the next big one after Avowed and Hellblade 2. And I think they get shown in the show with like a release date or a release window, but I think they close the show with actual gameplay this time of Fable. And I don't know if they'll give us a release window, but I think we'll actually see, from what some of us have heard in the background, some of the visual goodness of what Fable is going to deliver. I think we get to see some of that at the close of the show before leading off into the deep dive for Starfield. But as far as things that I expect to see, hopefully an update for Perfect Dark, hopefully an update for State of Decay 3. I don't necessarily expect gameplay per se, but I do think we at least get to see maybe some in-engine stuff to kind of give us an idea of where things are, as well as a couple other ones that we've heard throughout, time frame, like maybe some updates on Project Mara and stuff like that. But those are just my random thoughts on the showcase. Awesome feedback from you guys on that. One last thing before we wrap up on the showcase. Do any of you think we see a stealth drop, like an actual playable stealth drop, not just a beta test or anything like that? Do we see a stealth drop at this showcase? I'll start off with you, Ains.
Off the cuff, I'll say no. I think that stealth dropping on June 11th, probably not the best time date to do that. It would be a certain type of game needed to do that. I mean, we've talked about Hi-Fi Rush, all of us. But no, I don't think so.
Okay. Pong, any thoughts if we see a stealth drop at this showcase?
Outside of demo, no, I don't think so. I think your, Forza Wish, something like one track and a few cars, something like that certainly could happen. But I think like an actual stealth drop, like Hi-Fi Rush, no, I don't see it for June 11th either. I don't think so. Nope.
Okay.
I can't say that I do.
PTK?
Yeah, that's a very specific situation, right? Hi-Fi was for a lot of reasons, right? It worked, and that's hard to pull off, man. That's why it doesn't happen hardly anymore, really at all. So I doubt that happens. I doubt that we get some type of stealth drop. We might get something early. We might get a game that'll drop in there, soon. I know they did it I believe last showcase they had a couple games that dropped same day, right? Like I don't remember exactly which games it was, but I think we were already aware of those games. So I don't think it'll be anything that we're unaware of, like just completely left field. So yeah, I think there's a small chance that we get a stealth drop, but I don't really think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Like the beta for Forza, fingers crossed that we get something like that. The only reason why I think there might be a stealth drop is what Phil was saying at the interview with Charlie about another 007 kind of possible drop. Not that was exactly a stealth drop. It was kind of more of like we knew it was coming. Just they finally made us aware. But I'm wondering if we see whatever that is or whatever that might be at the showcase. But fingers crossed. Between that and Gamescom, I think we might see another 007 level deal. But awesome thoughts, guys. Greatly appreciate the visions you guys have for that, and man, I can't wait for this showcase.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah,
sure.
Real quick, because I was talking to Miles earlier about this, and I always find it fascinating because people have such vastly different answers. Which is just looking at Xbox. Let's go to Fantasyland for a second. Join me in Fantasyland.
Oh, we can
call it Speculation Town.
Speculation
I'm
Town.
one of the co-mayors. I've got the keys, so I'm opening it up right now. Go right ahead.
There you go. Thank you. Glad to be here. Welcome. Let's talk about if Xbox could announce your dream scenario. What game or project would they announce at this E3 that you would just, not for any other reason than your love of it, or what it could possibly be? What would that be?
Wow, that's a good question.
Like anything, something
anything.
that we know is
literally anything. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're on the very back hallway of Speculation Town, where it slips into the Twilight Fantasy. Just anything, literally any project. What would you like to see?
Wow,
a brand new Star Wars MMO.
Okay.
Full-fledged Knights of the Old Republic style MMO where I can be anything I want to be in that game. Dark, light side, stormtrooper, bounty hunter, it doesn't matter. Whatever I want to be, full-fledged open universe. That's I want a new Star Wars MMO for sure.
Okay.
Wow, man. Anything. Okay.
Anything, man.
I gotta really think about this. Ain't putting me in the spotlight here, man. Man, go ahead, Pong. Not Pong. I know you went Pong, but Fuzz. I got to think about this.
Okay,
man. That's a good one.
All right. So, and I've been talking with a few people in the community about this as far as like my ultimate vision for Forza, and I know it might be a little bit of a tough deal considering how there's a kind of like a staff split now with Playground Games, but
There's
almost
no
like
tough deals in Fantasyland, my friend. Go away.
all right. So we have like a slight merger of games as a service between Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon. And even Pong has talked about this, but I think it was more so he was looking at this from like a division standpoint of having everything in one map. Do something similar to that with Motorsport and Horizon, where it's Forza World essentially.
Yep.
Oof.
You can have a remaster of some of the older maps for Horizon. You have all of the real tracks, and everywhere there's a real track, as far as what's been in the previous Forza Motorsports, there's like at least a small city around that. So you can kind of drive to the track, have, street races outside the track, real races inside the track, lean into the lifestyle aspect of Horizon a bit more, where it's not to say it'd be like Grand Theft Auto without the crime, but kind of like what Test Drive Unlimited or you used to do, where you can own houses, you actually go to dealerships. It's not something in the menu. Although for simplicity, you could still have it where people can view all of the stuff in the menu if you don't feel like having your character walk to the dealership or drive one of your other cars to the dealership, but have it where it's a more all-encompassing thing where you can have your own private collection of your streetable cars and then your race cars, and make it so it's photo friendly, where you don't just have to do photo mode, but you can have collaborations as far as photos. So if you want to have your car club where everybody's driving Mustangs or Honda Civics or Ferraris or whatever, you can have like club meets and things like that at the track or outside the track, like in the parking lot. And then everybody, buckle down. Let's do like a few laps at Daytona, the road course with our Ferraris or something along those lines. So I know it's a bit pie in the sky, but considering what they did with Flight Simulator, where they're using Bing Maps and they did some handcrafted locations along with procedural generated locations, I think you could kind of do this. But man, the only thing I would think that would be the hardest part would be the server space and the amount of data that would take. But that would be my ultimate dream. Just basically Forza World, Motorsport, and Horizon combined, and lean into the lifestyle stuff, drag racing, street racing, car clubs, car meets, track days, practice, the whole nine.
I love that.
So I got one.
Love it.
I got one. So I thought about this as you were talking. So I would love a like Diablo-esque like Gears game, like Gears kind of in that setting. With loot and all those different things. Essentially just it fits that kind of setting. Like imagine Gears, like you're going to different places. There's different, I guess you could call them dungeons for the lack of a better term. Like just in that universe, it fits the universe perfectly. Maybe you can make your own Gears character. It doesn't have to be based off the actual Gears character. Maybe they show up somewhere along the story. Maybe they're there to guide you and kind of help you along, and you do meet them along the way and they're part of the larger story. But imagine being able to go to different places within the Gears universe, and you have loot, you have this skill level system with weapons, and maybe you don't have any crazy abilities, but maybe they could do something different with that. So I think that would be kind of cool. I'm stuck in this like Diablo mode at this point. I love those kinds of games now. No, for real. Like it's just
we got them, boys,
man. Yeah, you got me, man. I feel like you could take any game and stick it, make it like Diablo, and it should be good, right? Like bare minimum, it should be decent. So something like Gears fits perfectly for me. So something in that, like if you took those two worlds and put them together, that would be the perfect game for me.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Good answers, man. Really good answers. So funny enough, as it turns out, mine's not too dissimilar from PTK's, because one of the things I was talking about earlier today was about how I believe Xbox needs a superhero or a character, whether it's Batman or something like that. But I grew up loving Punisher. And so I know a few people have said, man, what if like Coalition could make a Punisher game? You know what I mean? And I'm all in on that. But what I was thinking is, let Coalition make a Punisher game where it's kind of visceral and it's mature, right? It's tough like Punisher, but have it in a world where you're taking down crime bosses and stuff, but you, the player, can build your Punisher like a Division type thing. So you're getting all kinds of different weaponry and all kinds of different skills, and you can build your Punisher however you want to build him. And I think thinking about the loop and kind of taking down a whole city of mobsters and the replayability. So it's kind of a combination
with like a nemesis system as well.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So that's what I was thinking. I think that would be really fun. But I love the Forza world thing. I said in the chat, Forza is only second to Diablo for me as my most anticipated, diehard car guy. So really, like, I know Fuzzy's pumped through the roof for Forza, and I'm right there with you, man. I can't wait for it. So, but good answers, guys. I just thought that it's always fun to kind of just, if we had, if we were the ones holding the paycheck or the checkbook, I mean. What would we do?
Oh so. Yeah, you don't want to give that to Pong, by the way.
No,
you don't want to give Pong the keys to anything. So
no, I'd be leaking everything. So, I'd be leaking my own screenshots out.
Pong would be CEO
false
for
identities. I'd have my burner accounts leaking stuff constantly because I want everybody to be
CEO for 10 minutes, Ames, and it'd be a wrap. They'd come drag him out of the office.
So we got to stop him. He's ruining it.
He's everything. Right? But no. But that was a great topic, man. And it looks like we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up on that one, man. So, let me do this quick $2 shout out. Shout out to you, Spindiferous, for the $2 super chat. He said, I want a Jade Empire remake or a new Riddick, man. Yeah, nice. Those are great. Those are great choices. Yeah. Riddick, yeah, great choice. But shout out to you. Thank you for the $2 super chat, Spindiferous, man. It has been a phenomenal show. We've had a phenomenal guest. We had some plans change. You originally may not have been here the whole show, but it worked out. You were here the whole show. But man, I want to make sure we give you the proper farewell. Won't be the last time he's on the show, guys. So it's just temporary. No. You will see Ainsley back here in full force, man. But once again, guys, do me a favor. You know what we do for the guests here? We roll out that red carpet for them taking their time to hang out with us. And Ains is a very, very, very special guest here at the Shop Podcast. So do me a favor. Do us a favor. Go subscribe, go follow, go support Season Gaming, the website, everything that they're doing, man. High quality, high integrity. That's the only people I promote here on the Shop Podcast. It's the only promotion you're going to get from me for sure. So high integrity, high quality, man. They do it the right way. If you want to get some good gaming news besides the Shop Podcast, go over there to Season Gaming. That's where you're going to find it. But shout out to you, Ains. Let everybody else know where they can find you as well.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Always nice to hang out with you guys, really. And I always enjoy doing the show. Great conversation tonight. A lot of fun topics. So thank you. Chat, thank you for the support as well. Yeah, you said it, man. Honestly, I don't really, I'm not a good promoter of my own content. I never have been.
It speaks for itself, man. It speaks for itself.
Just, Season Gaming. You can find everything there on the site. Obviously, I would say a lot of stuff nowadays is channels and shows, right? And there's not a lot of kind of independent sites per se. So you can find everything on the site. The support over there would be fantastic. We do a live show every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. The Bitcast, which you can find me, Travis Hogan, Dan. If you enjoy, again, it's all platforms, all gaming, just, talking shop. I'll bring it together. And then I also want to shout out, if you're not familiar with Hogue, if you don't mind me shouting that out real quick.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Our man Hogue, genuinely good guy, good family guy, fantastic in the community with the content he makes. If you're not aware, in late December, just before Christmas, he had a stroke. A very, very serious situation. They didn't know if he was going to live. He's had a very strong, thankfully, recovery. And he has not only gotten back on the show with us on Bitcast, but he's starting to do his own content again. And he's also documenting his journey of recovery, the stroke, his rehab, all this stuff. So if you haven't checked out his channel yet, it's Hogue Law. You can't miss it. You just type it in YouTube. You'll find it. He's got a lot of subs, but genuinely good dude. And it's been cool to see his recovery. And it's content that I think all of us should appreciate, because at the end of the day, especially some of us seasoned guys, things happen in life, man. We're talking video games, and this should be fun and enjoyable for all of us all the time. Get away from the nonsense, appreciate what we have in front of us. I think that's important reminder for all of us at times. So, and Absolutely. I'll shut up now.
No, you're good. Absolutely. No, you do. This is why we do it. And Ains, you're one of the best spokesperson for that, like you said. And this is why we do this show. This is why Ains does Season Gaming. This is what we're here for, guys. We got it. We can't forget about the common denominator, and that's video games. So make sure you put that first. Remember why you're here. We all love to have fun. And like I always said, and that just speaks for itself. High integrity is what you're going to get from Season Gaming first and foremost. So do me a favor. Please go over there. Go follow them. Go support. Okay, they deserve all of the support that you guys could possibly give them. So once again, thank you, Ains. You're amazing, bro. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, brother.
Hanging out with
Appreciate
us as
it.
well, man. But let me throw this over to my brothers in arms here, my two right-hand man, Mr. Pong Soul, Pong Harvey. We'll start with you. Another great show in the books, brother. 300 next week. So we got that lined up too, man. But let everybody know where they can keep up with you.
Incredible night yet again. Ending my week of podcasting the right way, right here at the Shop Podcast with an absolutely stellar guest this evening. Once again, Ains, been too long, brother. Great to hear your thoughts live, talking with you, and what a perfect night to get some Diablo talk in.
No doubt,
man.
Thank you,
so
man.
much, and everything, everybody over at Season Gaming for what you bring to the community. The positivity and doing it the right way. Again, shout out to all of you. You guys definitely deserve every piece of success that you guys have found, and definitely shout out to Hogue and his entire family. That story is something else that a lot of us have been following, and obviously giving him a lot of support through this, as is needed during those times. And that's another big part of this community I love to see, and Hogue is one of the most deserving of that. So again, shout out to you, brother, for joining us and taking the time. PTK and Fuzzy, what can I say, brothers? Next week, 300. What a run it's been. I know I haven't been here for all 300. But
it's been about 150 though. You've been here for about
it's getting there. It's crazy, man, how time flies ever since I started podcasting, right? I can't believe it's been like 2.5, 3 years, man. It's been nuts. But yeah, no, brothers, just a great night, great conversations. Chat, always amazing. Thank you. Nothing but love and respect for coming out and supporting this show and all the shows. I see all the same names and some new ones, but all the same names travel around in groups, just like I did before I started podcasting. Love to see that, man. Again, we're nothing without all of you. So thank you for being here for another Saturday night on the Shop Podcast. Listen, you guys know the drill by now. Xbox, Twitter, Pongso. You know how to follow me. I'll follow you back. Listen, that's where you can find me. Obviously, next week, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick. I'm not on the show anymore because real life, but I'm still part of the panel. I'm still part of the family. So I always shout out his show, Xbox Factor Podcast. He does 5 days a week. But listen, Xbox Factor is always going to have a special piece of my heart because that's really where I started over there on Double Barrel Gaming. So you got to join him and the panel over there every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time for All Good Things Green. Thursday night, It's Fun Speculation. That's the channel. You know, Mav, and it's PM in the PM. It's Pong and Mav in the PM every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. We go roughly around 3 hours every Thursday night, give or take. We almost had a 4-hour show this last week with a great guest in J-Rock, big member of the community, 10,000 plus followers. Dude's funny. He's great. But you know what? When he comes on and he talks on a show, a lot of great knowledge and just a really chill guy. And we had a great time. We went almost 4 hours last Thursday. So if you didn't check that out, please do so. But otherwise, find us there on Thursday nights, PM in the PM, over on the Fun Speculation Network. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's back over there on Fun Speculation for Xbox Ultimate. We had the full panel last night, including the one and only Game Pass dad, Pickle Papa, who has joined our panel full-time on Friday nights, building something big and huge on Friday nights. We have a lot of laughs, but we talk a lot of gaming as well. We did a whole positive show last night because of everything that's been kind of going on. So we just talked about every single studio that Microsoft and Xbox currently own, what they're working on, and how hyped we are for each one of those. So go check that out last night. Great show, great palate cleanser for some of the other discussions we've had to have these past couple of weeks. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it's Living Split Screen. It's my brother from another, Steel Rain. It's myself, 2-man show every Saturday morning. We start your weekend off with the energy you need, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3+ hours. Normally we go 4, cut it early today because obviously Dutch had the Community Indie Showcase, so we wanted to get everybody over there. But most Saturdays you can find us from the morning until the early afternoon, talking gaming, having a good time with the chat, going off the rails, having rants. We do a lot there, but we have a great time every Saturday. So Living Split Screen every Saturday morning. And then, of course, right back here next week, God willing, the Shop Podcast with 2 of my favorite people in the whole wide world, PTK and Fuzzy. And we're going to celebrate number 300. So be here. It's the golden age of gaming, people. It really is never been a better time to be a gamer than right now. Coming from somebody who's been doing it for 4 decades, this is the greatest time to be enjoying this hobby. So get out there, play what you love what you play, and I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Appreciate you, bro. Once again, the easiest way to keep up with Pong, if you didn't catch all of that, is going to be just follow him on Twitter. That's just where you're going to be able to keep up with everything he has going on in different shows throughout the week as well. But shout out to you, Pong. Amazing. The battery here at the Shop Podcast, man. But let's throw this over to you, Fuzz. Let everybody know where they can catch up with you as well, Fuzz.
Oh, just want to say it was awesome being on here with you guys. Always awesome having Ains on here. Man, this was a great conversation, great show. Great people in the chat. Thank you so much for coming out and watching us and joining us for this. And for all those that will catch us on replay, don't forget, definitely go out there, subscribe to Season Gaming, give a like and share for a lot of their podcast content as well. Awesome stuff that they always talk about over there. So definitely give them a follow. For those that want to hear my endless rants and rambles on anything gaming related, whether it be Forza, Division, or even Undisputed boxing and stuff like that, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere, or you can see, I can't even talk now. You can find me on a couple other podcasts, like on Monday morning or Monday afternoons on Double Barrel Gaming, the Xbox Lunch Break Special with Web Dave, Crazy Lou, and Mr. Boomstick XL. Once again, 12 noon on Mondays. And then later on that evening on FSP on Fun Speculation Network with Mav, 3-Bit, Psychonauts, and Jasper, also at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fuzz, every single week for being here, man. Thank you. I appreciate you, brother, for the energy as well. So last but not least, your boy PTK Blam, the host here at the Shop Podcast. Follow me on Twitter. Once again, we're here every single Saturday. If you guys enjoy the show, please come back and hang out with us. You can always get this good game and talk here at the Shop Podcast. All of the new people, new subscribers, the new energy. I love you guys so much. Thank you. The shows seem to be getting bigger every single week. I appreciate the continued support. And once again, next show, 300, the big 300. So it's going to be a big show. We got a great guest lined up. Hopefully, I can get some other people showing up as well too. So maybe some older guests that you might have not seen on the podcast in a while. So I'm looking into that. But I just want to celebrate with you guys. Really, it's all about the celebration of the community, and we wouldn't be here every single weekend without you guys. So enjoy your weekend, have fun, be safe, Golden Age of Gaming, like Pong said. Peace out, everybody.